It's Thursday night in the A. You know what that means. Kelly Price and Tori McElhaney is coming at you on Rise Up Tonight, presented by AT&T.
What is going on, y'all? I know we've talked a lot about the Falcons haven't done this, they haven't done that since 2016. Here's another one of those tidbits. Atlanta has not swept the season series against New Orleans in both divisional games since 2016. That kind of just stings, though.
I think I told y'all on the show last week that this is a series that no one can ever predict, and the Sunday loss is exactly why.
And we're back even in this thing. There were some worrying trends, though, that reared their ugly heads yet again in this loss. Let's huddle up about it.
Let's huddle up with Kelly and Tori on the world of Falcons football.
Well, in New Orleans, the Falcons, they again came out flat. Which, if I had a penny for every time they said that, I'd have 2 pennies, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. Yeah. We've seen this team win close games more often than not, but what was different Sunday versus the Saints as compared to the Seattle loss when they kind of struck a similar tone?
Yeah, so despite the fact that the loss came by way of the Saints, which I realize makes the loss hurt way worse than anything that the Seahawks did, I don't think this performance was actually as collectively bad as the one before. There were a number of times in the second half against the Saints that I thought this team was in position to take control of the game, which they fundamentally weren't against Seattle. Obviously, they didn't do that, take control of the game, that is. But as we'll talk about later in the show, at the bare minimum, this defense gave the team a chance despite the uncharacteristic explosives given up in the first half.
Kirk Cousins, the first to admit on offense they left some points out there on Sunday. The failure to score touchdowns became less of a storyline, though, when Younghoe Koo failed to score points on all of his attempts.
Right.
He missed 3 field goal attempts for the first time in his 7-year career, going 1 of 4 overall, but ultimately leaving 9 points of his own out there. In this day and age, it's easy to say, oh, you got to cut him, the Falcons. And it's true that a bad day in the office is kind of becoming more than that right now, Tori, but we both agree it is not time to move on. Raheem Morris even pointed out yesterday, Koo has already won this team plenty of games.
Right, and I think that's what makes this such a hot topic for everyone. To Kelly's point, Koo is someone who has won this organization games, a lot of them in fact, and he knows, Raheem Morris knows, and everyone watching the last few games know there's something going on and he's got to work through it. Or as Raheem Morris said this week, I trust my guy to kick his way through it. If there's been one prevailing message from Raheem Morris this week, it's that he trusts his kicker, and he's not going to forget Koo's hero history because of a bad day at the office. Morris said, and I quote, "I'm going to ride with him until the wheels fall off." So as tough as the last few games have been for Koo, the wheels aren't off just yet, so let's give him a chance to figure it out.
One thing that we're all ready to ring the alarm on, though, the Falcons' pass rush. After a glimmer of hope against Dallas, it turned out it was just that. Whether it's as macro as scheme limiting these Falcons or as micro as just not winning one-on-ones when they should, the Atlanta Falcons remain dead last by a lot in the National Football League with 9 total sacks in 10 games. While there have been some struggles in every phase at every position at some point this season, naturally, of course, this unit's consistency is consistently not bringing down the opposing quarterback. This pass rush could be the one thing that's kind of holding back this team from being great.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The Falcons have won more games than they have lost this year without having a consistent pressure percentage from its front. That's something that can only take you so far, and at a certain point against a certain team, the Falcons are going to need to rely on their pass rush to help them win a game. It's a big enough conundrum that it could very well be the difference in a win versus a loss. And honestly, Kelly, I'm kind of at a loss when talking about it. At this point, it really does feel like this pass rush is what it is, and you have to deal with it, and I hate feeling that way.
It does feel a little ominous going forward. Well, nothing came easy on the field in the Big Easy, but the Falcons made their pregame fits look effortlessly cool. We're walking in, presented by Wells Fargo. I sat down with Ray McLeod last week for an interview you guys are going to see here in a couple weeks on Rise Up Tonight. I had to ask him about the fuzzy hats, because we know them. We love them. Tori and I have even worn them to honor Ray, but upon me inquiring about this collection, whether it has like a shelf in his closet, he was like, have I worn a bunch of them? I didn't notice that. And look what he breaks out for the New Orleans road trip right after I talked to him. I'd like to say I manifested this, or maybe he's trolling.
Okay, so I wish I could accurately describe the look on my face when I saw Ray Sunday morning at the team breakfast, because I sent an all caps text to Kelly that you would have thought something awful had befallen me, but no, it was just Ray in a fuzzy hat with kitten Buccaneers, and I was elated.
It is important. I will say the amount of fuzzy hats and sweaters going on this week was astounding, you guys. D. Alford also has had some fashionable headgear of his own this season, but I love the color scheme and the fall vibe of this whole fit. 'Tis the season. Stand up, fuzzy hat gang.
Gosh, I wish more than anything that Kelly and I still had our fuzzy hats around to bring them
know.
back for this week specifically, because apparently we need them.
Yeah, we need to fit in here with this crew. Staying in the secondary, our guy, Justin Simmons, hitting us yet again with a power suit. This one, a metallic moment. For power ranking his looks, this one is probably a top 3 for me, but I think the other thing I love about his consistency this season is his commitment to always be holding a teeny tiny coffee cup. Is there anything in there? Is it hot? Does he take it with him on every trip? Because it looks like the same one.
Do we think that this is like a part of his ensemble? Like when he plans out his outfits, does he think about the coffee and or teacup and how it will look with it? Is it just a prop so he knows what to do with his hands? I have so many questions.
Here is a not so fun fact though. The Falcons haven't turned a 6-3 record into a 7-3 record since 1980. Tori and I know someone who knows a little something about that special Falcons season. We go in the nest with Steve Barkowski later in the show.
Rise Up Tonight is presented by AT&T and brought to you by Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. By Mercedes-Benz, the best of nothing. And by Home Depot, how doers get more done. Falcons fans, do you ever wonder what's really on your favorite player's mind? It's time for Question of the Week, brought to you by Zaxby's, Famous Fingers and Sauces.
We got a lot of good ones. I don't know about the worst.
The worst trash talk. I don't know. Maybe
2 hours later.
I don't like these questions. I don't know. I'm gonna just say somebody. Probably Drake.
I'll probably say me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really got the best trash talk. It's just a lot of cuss words.
Drake like me, like we both, like when we be in practice, we'll compete. You know, we'll go hard, compete, and then after the play, whether he got me or I got him, you know, we'll congratulate each other, like good job, you know. But I know he can't, you know, he can't trash talk because that ain't him.
I don't try to talk as much as one would.
Probably, if I had to say worse, it'd probably be Kirk.
Huh?
He too nice. I couldn't imagine him saying nothing crazy to anybody, so probably Kirk.
Honestly, that all checks out.
No,
and I know
yeah.
you tweeted this the other day. Drake seems like a different person on the field in
Right.
between the lines than like the nice guy that he kind of is off of it.
Right, so I
maybe
do
that's
think,
what it is.
and AJ saying like Drake is the worst one, he actually doesn't have to go up against him during games. So I would like to think that Drake flips the switch.
Yeah, I think he definitely, he's one of those guys that definitely does. Well, let's talk a little more about Atlanta's defensive effort on Sunday. For that unit, it was an uncharacteristic first half, allowing 265 total yards to the Saints offense, 196 of them through the air. But in the second half, totally different story. 100 total yards, 73 passing, 27 rushing. What kind of adjustments did they make at halftime, Tori? And what are kind of lessons maybe learned from that going forward?
Yeah, so here's the thing, Kelly. This is not a new development for this defense. They tend to do this quite often, actually. It's almost like this defense is a living, breathing, evolving entity that grows smarter as their play count grows higher. That's why halftime adjustments, they aren't really too much of a thing with them. It's just, it feels that way because they tend to play better in the second half in most scenarios as they pick up on tendencies in real time. The only discernible change they made last Sunday was moving A.J. Terrell to MVS after his explosives in the first half. Other than that, it was just guys playing better individually. Coverage got stickier, pressure started impacting Derek Carr to the point where they were forcing 4 consecutive 3-and-outs to end the game. If that second half defense shows up every week, the Falcons will always be in games.
Well, the countdown to Thanksgiving is on, y'all. The Falcons have this game, then the bye week, then bam, it's Turkey Day. And 2 of the youngest Dirty Birds spent time this week serving up some of the best fixins to some folks in need. Time to rise up for Atlanta, brought to you by Truist.
Kicking it down real live with a nice warm meal. Yes, rising up.
Let them cook. Falcons rookies Brandon Dorlus and Jace McClellan volunteered at Crossroads Community Ministries this week, packing lunches, serving guests a Thanksgiving meal. And the former Oregon Duck says doing things like this for those less fortunate is really the reason for the season.
Now it's Bijan Robinson, hits the hole, stays on his feet, speeds down the sideline to the end zone. Touchdown Atlanta.
We all liked that. I think you guys know where we're going with the chain this week. Stay tuned for that later in the show.
And coming up next, we talked to Falcons Ring of Honor member Steve Barkowski about this team and two of the new faces who joined him this year in that Ring of Honor fraternity.
Welcome back to Rise Up Tonight. Let's head in the nest with Kelly, Tori, and this week's special guest, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz.
Well, joining us is none other than a Falcons legend, Ring of Honor member, Steve Barkowski. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate the time. I actually really want to get your thoughts kind of on this current team. I'm sure you've been watching all the games this season. It's been, kind of an up and down affair at some points, but obviously not the best showing in New Orleans this past week. But what's your thoughts on the team overall throughout these first couple weeks of the season?
Well, I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about the team in a long time. They have a lot of the pieces in the right places, it looks like to me. I knew when Arthur signed Kirk Cousins, sent him a note and told him, I said, you got your quarterback. So that's a great first step. And it looks like he's playing as good a football as anybody in the game right now. So, and that's huge. I knew that we were close last year from the standpoint of guys running around and hitting people on defense, and a lot of good pieces in place. I don't know where you're going to find a better group of receivers than what we've got. So, starting to put it all together, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great run here the last half of the season.
It's interesting because I love the story that you're telling about, sending a message to Arthur and being like, hey, you got your quarterback. And I want to talk a little bit more about Kirk Cousins for a second. From your perspective, why was that the right move that the organization needed to make? Like, to your point, you go from the Matt Ryan years as having someone so consistent and so good, and he now joins you in the Ring of Honor. But then you kind of go into this quarterback purgatory where you don't know who's going to be under center week in and week out. So why was Kirk Cousins the right choice?
Well, I think, there's got to be a centerpiece to every offense, I think, and he's the guy who touches the ball the most. I mean, he's the guy who's most responsible on offense. He right up there with the offensive coordinator and the head coach. You're third in line, and you're going to take the heat and not getting it done offensively. So, that's a huge piece in the amazing puzzle that you're trying to put together as an organization. And when you get that piece taken care of, most of the other pieces kind of fall into their places. Drake London starts getting the ball more. Pitts gets the ball more. And Kyle, he's a guy that's been underutilized in my estimation in, his first 2 or 3, 4 years, whatever it's been. So, those things are kind of, Bijan Robinson looks like, he's the playmaker that he thought he was going to be. And Algiers. And, there's just that offensive line. They don't get enough credit for just how good they are run blocking, especially.
This is a big year for a fraternity that you're a part of, the Ring of Honor, inducting Matt Ryan and Mr. Blank into the Ring of Honor. I'm curious kind of just your thoughts on the induction of those two guys and kind of what it meant to you to open it up now to include those guys.
Well, it's pretty cool to be, Arthur is just an amazing guy. I don't know how else to say it. I watched him put his arm around on Koo on the way off the field. And, that just says everything about who Arthur is. Just walking him into the locker room, telling him, "Hey, man, you won a lot of games for us. This is just not going to be the norm for you. I know. Just hang in there, so to speak." I can hear him saying all that. Arthur is just, he created the Ring of Honor, and nobody deserves what he's bringing to Atlanta and continues to. I know he won't rest until he raises that Lombardi trophy. There's no doubt in my mind, and I knew it when he bought the team, that was going to be, the object of his obsession for the next however long it took.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he got kind of cheated out of it, 2016. But there'll be another shot. I got a hunch it may come sooner than any of us expect. And Matt, clearly, Matt is the class of the Ring of Honor as far as I'm concerned. I just bow to him. He's the best of the best, and I enjoyed watching him. His entire career. Just enjoyed, just seeing how he put in the work. And he's durable. Answered the bell. Very fortunate. Didn't have any serious injuries. And had an amazing career. Hall of Fame career, no question about it. Only wish that he had the chance to stand there with Artie on that podium and hold that Lombardi trophy back in 2016. But, it is what it is. And, Arthur's going to get his chance. There's no doubt in my mind. Falcon fans are I think, rightly excited about this team. And, we just need to hang in there with them, continue to support them.
Yeah, and to your point with the Falcons fans that are out there right now, maybe being negative after loss, and obviously the way it happened was such like you mentioned the coup situation. There's so many fans I feel like that kind of jump to the opposite end of the spectrum, like everything is terrible and fire everyone and cut everyone. Like, what's your message to fans that stay the course? Like, we're only halfway through the season or whatever it is at this point. There's still more football to come, and this is a good team.
Yeah, that's a great message right there. You said it. This is a really good, solid football team. You're going to get some breaks. You're going to win some games that maybe you shouldn't. You're going to lose some games that maybe you shouldn't. At the end of the day, man, you just want to get into the second season. You want to get into the playoffs. And, if you can control the home field advantage or whatever it takes. I look at the teams. There's no super teams out there. Everybody is beatable.
Right. Even the Chiefs look crazy beatable. They just keep winning and keep finding a way to win. It's crazy ways.
In my mind, we beat that. That was
their pretty much closest game.
More chances from the 1 yard line. 1 yard line to get it in the end zone. We got there. But that's neither here nor there. And at the end of the day, you're going to lose some of those kind of games, and you're going to win some that you maybe shouldn't. So I say just hang in there, like you said, stay the course. This is a good football team. They have a will to win. They're different than they were last year. They're going to figure out a way to, when the game is on the line, they're going to figure out a way to win it more than lose it. I'm encouraged, and they ought to be also.
I think that's a great note to actually end on. All of you Falcons fans, don't be so pessimistic. Steve Bartkowski told you so. Well, Steve, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Looks like you're living your best life in Montana, so we appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to hang out with us.
Happy to do it.
Hey Atlanta, this is Head Crack talking, and you watching Rise Up Tonight, presented by AT&T.
My teammate used to say, walk into your trap, take over your trap.
You like that? I feel like that.
And they were playing that song about you swag and surf, and the whole stadium was moving. And I looked around, I was like, this is pretty sweet.
Well, at least Bijan Robinson went into a trap and took it over this week. Sunday was his 5th straight game with at least 100 all-purpose yards. He scored twice in this game. He cut the Saints' lead to 3 at the time. And honestly, the crazy contact display right there alone is Shane Worthy.
Yeah, no, if you're going to spend a number 4 overall pick on a running back, you might as well let it be Bijan Robinson. And we're seeing exactly why. He's just so difficult to tackle. He's shifty and has unreal vision and feel for the game, the call, and the defender's presence around him. He's a special player. We're seeing exactly why. But the thing is, we're seeing it game in and game out, which is a little bit different than before.
That's true. Heartbreaker for the Broncos this week. They had a shot to hand the Chiefs their first loss of the season. Some more crazy Kansas City dark magic going on with this field goal attempt. But this is a team that's gotten 3 of their 5 wins against the NFC South. And a lot of people talk about Bo Nix in the offense, but the challenge might be this defense.
Yeah, so not enough people are talking about this defense. I really do think that this is going to be a barn burner and a very low scoring game similar to week 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that's a good call. We'll see how it shakes out at Mile High. We'll let you know not next week. We'll be off next week for the bye, but then after that, we'll see you then. Good night.